Hello and welcome to Newsbreak at 7. I'm Veeraraghav. Our top focus this evening, Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesighe has arrived in New Delhi. This is his first visit to India after he took charge as president exactly a year ago. Wickremesinghe became president, remember, in the midst of an unprecedented economic crisis and public outrage in the island nation, which had forced then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign and flee the country. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is expected to call on Wickremesighe shortly, and a meeting with Prime Minister Modi is scheduled for tomorrow. A year after he took charge, the economic situation in Sri Lanka remains precarious. India, remember, had extended financial aid of close to $4 billion to the island nation. Apart from the economy, Sri Lankan Tamil MPs have written a strongly worded letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi stating that Colombo has, and I quote, failed to fulfill commitments on devolution of power to Tamils and has, quote-unquote, tried to abort implementation of the 13th Amendment there. That's a very important issue that could come up for conversations while the President is here. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has written to the Prime Minister expressing concern over the plight of Tamils and demanding that India bring up the concerns of Indian fishermen who have often run into trouble with the Sri Lankan Navy. He's also asked the Prime Minister to raise the issue of the islet of Kachativu, an important point for fishermen from the state, which was handed over to Sri Lanka by India in 1974. So a lot of contentious issue and substantial issues there in this visit. So will this visit go beyond just the optics? Joining us this evening, Nirupama Subramanian, independent journalist, and R.K. Radhakrishnan, senior associate editor of the Frontline magazine. Two Indian journalists who have covered Sri Lanka extensively. R.K. Radhakrishnan had recently written about the plight of Tamils in the island nation. Let me take my first question to you, Nirupama. Has there been a substantial change on the ground in Sri Lanka over the last 1 year? Do we see a substantial change in India-Sri Lanka ties? What do you think Colombo's focus will be during this visit?
So to answer your first question, if you mean by the change in the situation in Sri Lanka on the ground in terms of the economy, I think it's now being managed better. And there isn't that kind of panic that we saw last year around this time about where the money is going to come from and how much is left, to import oil and, all that panic we saw last year in March and April. I don't think it's there anymore. But Sri Lanka is still a long way to go before it turns the corner economy-wise. Of course, they have got a bailout from the IMF, but they also have to implement very big reforms. And there is a lot of opposition in Sri Lanka over these reforms because it involves nationalization of some big assets like Ceylon Electricity Board and the Sri Lankan Airlines is also up for sale, I think. So there are all these issues, and they have to do that. It'll take, I think, 5 years for the country to get really back to normal. You asked about India-Sri Lanka ties. I think they are much better than what they were, say, even in 2021. And since the time that India was the first responder to Sri Lanka's economic crisis. I mean, in terms of putting money on the table, India was the only one to do so. Not even China, which had done so many projects in Sri Lanka. It was India, $4 billion. I mean, that's a huge amount in line of credit and so forth, because it's not easy to swing those things within months, but India did that. And it's far improved. But of course, there was that incident of the Chinese restaurant, the surveillance vessel that kind of disturbed the situation a bit. But we'll see how it goes now. Yeah.
Right, let me take that across to R.K. Radhakrishnan as well, who recently wrote a report on the plight of Tamils in Sri Lanka, who's been following that very closely. How much of it do you really expect India to take up in this visit, R.K., or are larger issues of trade and strategic concerns going to overshadow, though there may be a lot of noise around the Tamil issue and letters written, would it be substantively part of the conversations that happen in New Delhi? Do you expect that to happen? Before I go to Shihar Anis, who joins us from Colombo in a bit. RK.
Thank you, Veera. Lovely to see Nirupama and Shihar on the show. It's very clear that New Delhi has not seen the issue from a Tamil Nadu point of view, from a security of the Sri Lankan Tamil point of view, or anything of the sort. New Delhi has had a very peculiar view all over the time, and it has been said to be strategic. Now, if it was strategic, then the 13th Amendment to the Sri Lankan Constitution should have been implemented by now. It's 36 years in the making, which is what R. Sampathan, the TNA leader, pointed out in a letter on 17th July, which was handed over to the Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka to be forwarded to the Prime Minister of India before the visit of Ranil Wickremesighe. In that, he very clearly says there are twin objectives of the 13th Amendment was, one, to ensure the safety and security of Tamils in the northern province of Sri Lanka, and second was to also ensure the security of India. Now, even this basic thing has not been taken up by governments over time, right from the Rajiv Gandhi government. So we see something that, the definition of the strategic interests of India varies when it is seen from Delhi and when it is seen by experts in Tamil Nadu. It is very well that M.K. Stalin raises the issue of, fishermen and associated issues, including the rights of Sri Lankan Tamils in Sri Lanka. But that doesn't ever cut much ice in Delhi, even though there are periodic noises as and when any Prime Minister comes to Tamil Nadu and talks about it.
Right. Let me take that across to Shihar Anis, who's consulting editor of Economy Next, who joins us from Colombo. Thank you so much, Shihar, for joining us. Recently, in a conversation that the president had in Sri Lanka, he said, I am Ranil Wickremesinghe, not Ranil Rajapakse, in response to posters, according to reports that we've received here. Has there been any substantive change on the ground in Sri Lanka, whether it is the issue of Tamils or whether it is the issue of the economy there? Please give us your thoughts on that.
Thank you, and nice to see RK and Roma. Yes, I think economy has changed and people have somewhat hope. The IMF has come in, and with the support of India and other nations, the economy is now in a kind of a recovery mode. Now they want to stabilize, and then they want to go for a growth mode. But it's far better than what we had last year. There is no queue. We don't see any queues. There is no shortages, but there are issues because of the inflation. The prices have gone up, and people are struggling. Some people have lost jobs. So economy is recovering at the same time. There are some concerns that has to be addressed by the government, and more concerns are expected. More concerns are over the
privatization
according to the IMF guidelines in the state sector reforms. These are expected, but at the moment we see kind of a clear path of recovery. In terms of Tamil's issue, what we have seen is like there is a somewhat we have seen a positive approach from the government. Now, what we have seen from Rajapaksa was like it's basically he was so worried about his voter base. He was so worried about what will happen in the next election, whereas Wickremesinghe has promised what he can do, and he also has clearly said that what he can't do. Now, that's something that Tamils will have to decide. How to navigate through both Rajapaksa and Wickremesinghe. But we have seen somewhat a positive approach from Wickremesinghe, but on the ground, from Tamil side, we don't see any changes. They have been stuck to their own demands.
So Shihar, on the ground, you don't see much changes as far as the Tamil issue is concerned. I'm going to take that again across to Nirupama now. Nirupama, as far as India is concerned, we had an equation going with Rajapaksa, and then he was toppled and left the country. How do you see this era of Ranil Wickremesinghe-India relationships? What do you think are the key challenges, and what do you think are the key positives? Because it's been 1 year since the president took over. This is now when he is coming to India.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Ranil does not evoke good memories in the Delhi establishment because in 2015 there was a lot of hope attached to what he could deliver, but it quickly became clear that either he was not inclined to do that, and more importantly, he did not have the political capital to actually take things ahead. So there were a list of things that he was supposed to do. I mean, they signed an MOU when he came to Delhi in 2017, and to take forward many projects, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and there was Trincomalee oil farm development. There were many others. I think there were some 17 or 18 things on that list, and there was absolutely no forward movement because the president and the prime minister, Ranil was the prime minister, the president was Maithripala Sirisena at that time, and it was a national unity government, but they had fallen apart and there was complete paralysis. So, and then after he came, within days of his coming to power, there was that Chinese surveillance thing. So there's some kind of mixed feelings, and you can see that when he was elected by Parliament, India sent a very lukewarm kind of message saying, yes, we would like to work with the people of Sri Lanka, and it took 1 week for
I'm sorry, Nirupama, I just want to stop you there. At that point when you say from then to now, and I want to take that across to R.K. Radhakrishnan because we're running short of time as well. I'm sorry for interrupting you. R.K., what do you see has been the key change in the last 1 year in terms of India-Sri Lanka ties and in terms of the equation with Ranil Wickremesinghe? Quickly.
I think we are more confused now than at any point of time. Ranil Wickremesinghe does not have the mandate. He is the lone member of the UNP in Parliament, and he has to depend on the Rajapaksas for their support in Parliament. Otherwise, he cannot really pass anything in Parliament at all. So we have this unique situation where the president is from a party, he doesn't control the Parliament, and really does not have the support of the masses as well. So I don't know what kind of deal Delhi can strike with him, but what we see is a China strategy, that is China's strategy in Sri Lanka, which basically is to run with all the actors in question and try and make sure that all of them are on the same side. Now, the Rajapaksas are on the side of China, and hence China is making great headway in any of the projects that they've undertaken, whereas the Indian projects are stuck, including the port expansion, of which the Western terminal is supposed to come to India.
Right, and that's a concern that a lot of Indian diplomats have raised. Shihar, very quickly, your response to that change. Has there been any substantive change, or has the political instability means that there's not been a very clear directional change in Sri Lanka?
I tend to agree with RK. I think in terms of assistance, India has given a lot during the crisis time. But in terms of the government will to forge alliance with many countries, I think it's the same mandate they have and same people they are in the Parliament. And Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot change anything. The President Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot change anything because he is backed by the former government at the moment. He does not have the mandate, and also he does not have the Parliament power to do anything. So he is backed by the same people who had opposed Indian projects earlier, and these are the people who said we should not give any strategic project to India, or for that matter even China. So I don't see there is a great development in that angle. But Wickremesinghe has been trying to do something, to neutralize many countries and, trying to kind of forge alliance with mainly India.
Right. Interesting point that you make there. And of course, all three panelists, I'm really sorry, Nirupama, I had to cut you short because we were running short of time. Of course, it's important to note that Sri Lankan president has several political concerns back home. We'll have to wait and see what comes out of the meeting tomorrow in New Delhi with the Prime Minister and whether there will be any substantial statements or progress that is announced after that thing. We'll keep track of that. Thank you so much, Nirupama, R.K. Radhakrishnan and Shihar for joining us on this conversation. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we'll tell you the richest politician in Karnataka. We know that money power plays a big role in Karnataka politics, perhaps politics everywhere, but in Karnataka politics specifically. And it's proven by numbers. 12 of the country's 20 top richest legislators are from Karnataka. And Pratibha Raman tells us who the richest man amongst all our legislators is. He's also the Deputy Chief Minister and State Congress President of Karnataka.
Karnataka's Deputy Chief Minister, D.K. Shivkumar, is the richest legislator in the country with assets declared at 1,413 crore rupees. Karnataka, in fact, has the maximum number of 12 MLAs in the top 20 richest in the country, according to a report released by the Association of Democratic Reforms and National Election Watch.
I am not the richest among the country. One thing is that as an individual, I have to go by, this is all my old assets. In Bangalore, they have grown well. It is none of the assets have been acquired now. It is all very long assets. So they tell that I am the richest man. I am not the richest man. And no doubt I am not a poor man.
Second on the list is independent MLA K.H. Puttaswamy Gowda, worth 1,267 crores, while Congress legislator Priya Krishna is third on the list. His assets, 1,156 crore rupees.
Mining scam, like so many other scams which have happened, and they are still getting elected. That shows that somewhere people don't punish those people who are corrupt.
Interestingly, number 23 in the list is mining baron Gali Janardhan Reddy. Most of his assets are reportedly declared in the name of his wife, Aruna Lakshmi, who recently contested and lost the state assembly elections from Ballari, representing their new party, Kalyana Rajya Pragati Paksha.
Congress loves rich people. Any person involved in any scandal will face the music. Ultimately, nobody can escape justice.
The ADR list also mentions that 14% of Karnataka MLAs are billionaires, most of them with assets worth 100 crore rupees, which is the highest in the country. It seems like the economic gap is wide between crores of people casting their votes and a handful of politicians representing them. With camera person Kumar, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
And money, always together. That's all we have time for on this show. Of course, the news continues here on NDTV.